basically from Kerala.
Okay.
But my dad was also in the Indian Air Force, and he was posted in Bangalore when I was born. And my dad's side was all from, most of the people were from Bangalore, because that side everyone came running when the Japanese attacked Burma, you know, way back in 1940s. So they came back to India and settled down in Karnataka. Those days it was called Madras Presidency or Madras State.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so I am a hybrid, if you call me that, because my mom's more from Kerala and my dad being a Kerala, but literally lived in Karnataka. So I'm a kind of a cocktail.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So Bangalore.
So I started my life here in.
Bangalore was more
Pardon?
Because it's the metro. Bangalore was more because it was metro city.
What about in context of?
No. Your decision to settle in Bangalore, was it more to do because it's a metro or?
No, really. My last 4.5 years was in a place called Dharwad in North Karnataka.
Okay.
And I actually went to do one project, and one led to the other, and I did about 10 projects out there.
Okay.
So I stayed in Dharwad for about 4.5 years, and this February I got back to where I was born and a city that I love. So yeah, from February 5th I'm continuing doing what I do in Bangalore.
Okay, but your family has always been based in Bangalore?
Oh yeah, my mom went back from Bangalore to Kerala because the weather was not, suiting her, and she had these asthmatic problems.
Okay.
Yeah, my dad's no more. He passed away in 95. Yeah.
So we are people in the room, Sudhanshu?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Rachna.
Yeah. We can start.
Yeah, we get started. So so we have been people who have joined us from the beginning. We've been in conversation with Colonel Prakash, and in conversation he has also introduced himself, but just so that everybody else who've joined us now, to give you a background, Colonel Prakash was born in a military family. His schooling was at Sainik School from Bijapur in Karnataka state. He's also been an alumnus of National Defense Academy. He served the Indian Army, and post that he migrated to Australia in 2001. And there is where, the way Colonel Prakash describes it, he met the love of his life. And that's where he learned all about hydroponic farming. And he's come back and he's been into consulting and practicing this in India and multiple pockets of India, though he's based in Bangalore. As he was just sharing with us, he's pretty much accessible to all pockets of India. And this situation that we've been all forced into, we all have the privilege of, gathering more information and getting all the knowledge that he's acquired on a virtual session, sitting in the comfort of our drawing rooms and learning more about this. Colonel, so we set the context of the conversation right. Can we just start with a basic introduction, because there are a lot of people, today is a very mixed audience that we have. Somebody who's looking at this particular session purely from a gardening perspective, just to cultivate an hobby kind of a thing. And some are also looking at the commercial benefits of it. So the target audience and the takeaway for everybody is going to be very large. So it'll be wonderful if we can start from the very basic, what is soil-less cultivation all about? Is there an history attached to it? What is hydroponic all about? Why soil-less cultivation, when there is so much, who can do it, how we can do it? If we can start from the basics, I think then we can switch over to the questions that have come into us. Does this sound fine to you?
Yep.
Awesome. So over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, friends. It's my pleasure and honor to be able to this morning talk about my favorite subject. And people call me sometimes and ask me, is it the right time to talk to you? So I say it's the right time to talk to me if it's about my subject. So yes, so hydroponics is an interesting science, and hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Is anybody facing any trouble? Please put it in the chat box.
Okay, so hydroponics is a subset of a larger subject called soilless horticulture or soilless cultivation. We use the word hydroponics like we use the word Xerox. We say, "Do copies Xerox karo, 5 copies Xerox karo," because it's and Xerox is a lovely word to use instead of saying photocopying. And hydroponics, when you say I'm doing hydroponics, people think you're doing some NASA project or something. It gives you that kick. But the truth is, anything that is soilless agriculture, when you grow plants without soil, you grow them in solid media or you grow them in just water as a medium. Now, soilless agriculture or soilless horticulture is not something that I have invented or discovered. It has always been there. Your lotus, your water lily, and everything, they grow just in water, floating in water, right? So it is something that nature created and somebody observed it carefully. And since the 1600s, a lot of scientists have been wondering and researching on the whole thing and trying to understand how do these plants grow just in water as a medium. Now, a lot of people may ask, yes, there is a lot of soil in this world, then why the hell do we have to use soilless medium? This kind of thing. The problem is the soil over the last 150, 200 years especially have been completely soiled by the mindless, godless use of pesticides and fertilizers. In some cases, there is no nutrient in the soil, or in some cases, there's extremely high amount of nutrient in the soil. And when people use a lot of chemical pesticides, they have left behind a lot of heavy metal residues. And heavy metals are very dangerous for human beings because it even causes cancer, multiple organ failure, and different kinds of things. So, because soil has lost its its patency, it's lost its qualities. Scientists have had to find some other way in trying to grow plants the way they used to in ideal times or in ideal conditions. Like now we've had a lockdown for the last 2 months and you can actually see we are able to breathe more fresh air. We're getting back so many different species of plants coming back, a lot of birds coming back because they suddenly began to think that, wow, everything is all right now. But again, lockdown over and we'll be back to it. We are humans after all. So the thing is, what does soil do? Soil basically does 3 things. 1, it holds nutrients. 1, it gives anchorage to the plant. And 1, it holds water. If we were to use any other method which could imitate what soil does, bingo, you can actually grow any kind of plant. Now, sorry. So, hydroponics or soilless agriculture has been researched, and it is one of the most intensive horticulture in the world. And today, when I talk about hydroponics, I know a lot of people must have already done a lot of work on the internet and gleaned a lot of information. And the unfortunate part about the internet is that they tell you only the rosy side of the science. They show you beautiful cherry tomatoes, they show you lovely broccoli, and you say, wow, I just had to buy this equipment, this pipe and this pump and this sensor and some app. I can sit in America, press a button and flowering will happen and fruiting will happen, and another button, things will get packed. And 6 months later, last button pressed, money in the Paytm. It's not going to happen that way. So today, my talk is not going to be trying to tell you the rosy side of the science, because already the internet has done that work. A lot of people approach me and say, we have 50 acres of land, we have 25 crores to invest, we want 50 different kinds of vegetables. First question I ask them is, and who's going to actually grow them? Oh, we'll find people in the market. We have so many agriculture graduates and we have doctorates and PhDs and this and that. Yeah, but theory is not reality. When you put your hand into anything, theory and the real thing are quite different from each other. So, therefore, soilless agriculture is a futuristic science. And again, it is like many people are made to think that it's very expensive to do it. And it's, the entry barriers are very high. I am a very different evangelist in that sense in soilless agriculture. And a lot of people actually don't like me because I when people talk about Rolls-Royce kind of systems, I talk about the Maruti 800. So my idea is that food is a birthright. Everybody should be able to grow something at home. Even on a windowsill, you can grow a few leafy vegetables, if you please. Wherever there's a bit of sunlight and God-given clean water, you're okay to go. So the idea is that there are many methodologies. You can use a lot of recyclable materials to grow plants at home. You don't have to waste a lot of money. And people say, oh, it's the nutrients that make the difference. And as if plants don't need light, and as if plants don't need relative humidity, as if plants don't need timely watering. Everyone says, you know what? It's all about the nutrient. If you get that right, the plant will grow. Means you can keep it in the darkness also, no problem. It will still grow. Wow, wonderful. It doesn't work like that. A plant is like a human being. The only difference between a plant and a human being is that a plant cannot walk and talk, whereas we can. But exactly what the plants need, we also need. And what we need, the plants need. Every single element that goes into fertilizing a plant is exactly what a human being's body also needs for good health at all times. So soilless agriculture is futuristic, as I said, and the most beautiful thing about soilless agriculture is it's not rocket science, but it's a perfect science. There is procedure, there is process, and it calls for a lot of discipline, in the sense that you have to care for your plant like a baby. And like I tell my students who come for my training programs, physical training programs or practical programs, I tell them, if you want to master growing plants, you have to see your plants through the eyes of a mother. You have to have empathy. You got to, even sitting in your farm office, you should feel your plants are calling you for some reason. Only then, when you get when you're connected to the plant, you will actually be able to take that plant to the genetic potential. The plants are very simple things. They just say, give me water, give me the right amount of light, give me my food on time. They ask like children, like small children. You might have seen some kids wake the mother up at 2 in the morning and say, Ma, I'm hungry. And then what to do? Mom will make some noodles and give, but whatever. So similarly, here also the plants are completely dependent on you. And unlike in soil agriculture, in soil, what happens is there is a lot of buffering capacity in soil. If a plant doesn't get water, the roots will somehow search out some moisture and survive. If a plant doesn't get its food, the roots will find some food somehow. One day, if you don't water, it's not going to die. Whereas when you grow in a water medium or you grow in a solid medium, what happens is say, for example, you're growing it in a container. Now, where does the root have the chance to go out of the bag or out of the container and find its own water or find food? It's very difficult. Therefore, it is very intensive horticulture. It means you need to give it a sufficient amount of time, and you should be there when the plant needs you, not when everything is gone. So while many people make others believe that hydroponics is very easy, and there are a lot of myths that are spread about the science. People say in hydroponics we don't use there is no need for pesticides, as if pests understand whether you're growing it in hydroponic method or in organic or in vermiculture or permaculture. Pest is pest. They will come regardless of which way you grow the plant. So a lot of myths are spread in the industry by people saying plants grow 50 times faster. You get 100 times more yield. Now all this is, taking people down the wrong path. The truth is not that. It's basically like this. If you were to grow a tomato plant, say you plant 2 seeds, you plant one and put it into soil, and you put one into a soilless medium, and you watch them grow from day one. The one growing in the soilless media appears to grow faster, but actually it is not growing faster than its genetic potential. It's growing fast. It looks to you notionally that it's growing faster because you're giving it ideal conditions. That's the reason why it seems to grow faster. It's like asking CV, when did you get a mustache? I didn't get a mustache at the age of 2. I got it possibly when I was 16, because there is a genetics at work. Some people grow bald at even 25. That's because it's hereditary. It's there in the genetics. So you can't play around with genetics like that and say that, oh, my plant is growing faster or it's giving this much and that much. It's just that in our way of growing, we are able to give plants the right conditions, ideal conditions. In what they call when I was in Australia, the farmers used to say the hydroponic farmers. They would say we can steer the crop. That means it's like steering your car and